So good morning to everyone. I'd like to welcome all of you to the Golden Eight-Petaled Lotus of Meditation and Healing with Lama Losang. This is, I believe it's the 6th installment of our program, and we have worked through so many, I'm sorry, it's the 7th.
That's right.
Yeah, sorry about that. 7th in our installment in our program. And today, Lama Losang will be sharing with us about herbal medicine. And so thank you very much for being with us, Lama, and please turn the wheel of Dharma and healing for all of us.
Okay, thank you, Lama. A short prayer first. Paulin Sawe Lama Rinpoche, Dakichiwa Vedantila, So we will continue where we left off. We have the Golden Eight-Petaled Lotus. This is, as Lama said, number 7 on herbal medicine. So I want to thank all of you. Some of you may have been here for the entire presentation so far. Thank you for your perseverance and attention and dedication. And hopefully it's of some value to you, and we can use it in an appropriate way. So we were talking about the first one being meditation and mindfulness, which we covered, and Tai Chi and Qigong. The third, diet and nutrition. The fourth, massage, acupressure, Tuina, body work. The fifth, the I Ching and Mo, divination. And the sixth, the feng shui, geomancy. Astrology is also included in this. Herbal medicine, the 7th, and the last, next time we meet will be on the 5 elements: acupuncture, moxibustion, therapeutic, cupping, scraping, a variety of other modalities that we use based on 5-element theory and practice. And we'll be kind of tying up loose ends and giving you a nice overview on how all this fits together. But I think it's pretty clear, you know, as expressed in the Huang Di Nei Ching, which is the oldest medical treatise from China, over 5,000 years old. And in that, which is a dialogue between the Emperor Huang Di, the Yellow Emperor, and his physician, they talk about these different branches of medical science, and meditation and Qigong were considered the 2 most important. And the way we're going through this is somewhat according to its hierarchy or importance of health and healing. So meditation and Qigong were considered the 2 most important branches of medical science. And much emphasis was placed on the importance of these methods for personal attainment, that students were required to train in both of these before beginning their other studies of medicine. So I feel this is still very important for all physicians as well as their patients. And we will follow this order, you know, we followed this in our presentation, beginning with the exploration of meditation, which you have the good fortune of being part of a Sangha and studying this, the teachings of the Buddha. And we will follow that, beginning with the we began with the exploration of meditation and Tai Chi, Qigong, including the practical applications, and then the diet, nutrition, and the rest. And as I say, we'll finish with the extensive study of the 5-element theory and practice. And my wish has always been, you know, to share what I have learned over the years and to help guide you in ways to listen to your own inner wisdom. We are all creating this work of art, which is our life. And these teachings and this series are practical tools for living the best life, you know, that you can, and creating health and happiness for yourself, your family, and our planet. And I have personally used all of these methods for many years and can attest to their power and ability to transform our thinking and improve the quality of our life. So this can be the starting point for training for not only physicians as it was designed, but for all human beings who have a body and want to live a healthier, happier life. So we will continue with our study, but I want to remind you that this is a way to cultivate bodhicitta. So we started with meditation and the aspect of bodhicitta. In Sanskrit, the term usually is translated as mind of enlightenment or mind of awakening. And it refers to the state of mind of all bodhisattvas who pursue the path of enlightenment. So this is our goal, to be a physician was the way this was studied, but to be a Buddha is even more important. And you have the good fortune of being there and working with Lama Kathy, who has been teaching. I know that she has a particular interest in Losang, the practices which are cultivating bodhicitta through mind training. So, this is the primary way that we begin our path is through meditation and contemplation and practice. So this is bodhicitta that we've been talking about is the unity of skillful means through the things we've been talking about, and prajna through our meditation. So that is, part of what should be the Hippocratic Oath. And we'll, if we have time, we'll talk about the Hippocratic Oath, both as it is for the Western physicians and as it is in the Eastern tradition as well. So. So herbal medicine is one of the oldest therapies in the world, and it has always been an important part of healing in every culture around the world. The history of herbalism is the history of medicine itself. There is great diversity and richness in these many herbal traditions. For example, Native American people had a working relationship with nature and respect for the healing properties found in plant medicine. This is true for European traditions that continue to use the cornucopia of herbal remedies for everyday ailments. But there are some very highly refined medical systems around the world that have researched and documented the use of medicinal plants for centuries in their various healing modalities. This includes the healing systems of Ayurveda, of India, the traditional Chinese medicine, and the different systems when we see these differences, they're more cultural than philosophical. We'll be focusing primarily on the application of herbal medicine in the context of traditional Chinese medicine and a comparison with the Western or European herbal traditions, which differ slightly, and hopefully you'll understand that as we continue. But the World Health Organization, who recognizes that nearly 80% of the world's population is dependent on traditional medicine for their primary health care. And herbal medicine is the primary treatment modality, 80% of the world. I mean, we have a very sophisticated medical system, a pharmacological system. And it is interesting that herbal medicine in the West is classified as being complementary or alternative, while it still remains the only form of medicine that is widely available for most of the world's population. So we are seeing the growth of herbal supplements accelerating every year. You'll find herbs and herbal products in many of their forms, pills and salves and potions, available not only in health food stores, but in most grocery stores, drug stores, online, and even gas stations. You'll go in and find herbal potions for stamina, strength, stay awake. Even so, modern medicine has not embraced this trend, and the reason is primarily economic. Herbs, by their nature, cannot be patented. So the companies cannot hold exclusive rights to a particular herb. So having said that, WHO states that the 119 plant-derived pharmaceutical prescription medicines, more than 75% are used in modern medicine in the same way that plants are used in native cultures. 75%. And so they classify 119 plant-derived pharmaceutical prescription meds. And these are derived, again, from plants. They extract a particular aspect and synthesize it. Sometimes it's natural, sometimes it's synthetic, but these are used in our modern medicine. And we have been studying this various aspects of the golden eight-petaled lotus that can be traced as far back as 2600 BCE, with each section of learning having a specific benefit to health and healing that we've been going over. And as previously mentioned, these have been found in the ancient texts on medicine, such as the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine, the Hongdin I Ching, and the Book of Changes, which we talked about, the I Ching. And the principal theme of these texts is that we must take responsibility for our own health and happiness through proper living. So what we've been studying are the methods you can use to empower and support your health and vitality. And this goes far beyond the healthcare practices practiced in the West, when you just go to the doctor when you're sick. The truth is, you can participate in your own wellness protocols to avoid sickness and promote health. You know, in China, it was a little bit different early on. It may be hard to imagine, but during the 16th century, a very famous Chinese medicine doctor came to the same conclusion. Li Zixuan not only prescribed herbs and did acupuncture, but also advised his patients on the appropriate diet and behaviors suitable to their constitution and the season. You know, we're ready to go into our new season. I think it's the 23rd of September is on the calendars, is the fall equinox. And this is a time of transition, and it can be a little vulnerable time sometimes as we transition from season to season. So in the Asian tradition, one usually sees their physician at the change of the season. If they've maintained good health and there's no traumas or shocks, injuries, accidents, and the rest, one can go in to see their physician at the time of the change of the seasons, usually 4 or 5 times a year for a little balancing, or to take an herbal formula based on constitution to help. The fall is the time for the lungs and the large intestine. It's the metal element. So we'll talk more about that actually when we talk about the 5 elements, but we are in the midst of this time of transition from one season to another. And we begin looking towards the new season and how we balance our energies to accommodate those changes. So to give the patient the tools they need and to correct imbalances and to maintain wellness. You know, in the West, we talk about prevention, and it is usually early detection that people talk in the West, but we would like to, in the Asian medical system, want to prevent disease. And through the diagnostics of this system of medicine, through the pulse, sound of the voice, temperature, qualities, pulse, all these things give you an indication about what is happening in that body, mind, spirit, and to correct imbalances that are just felt in the pulse, for example. You can prevent things, you can really do preventive medicine by creating balance, and through the herbs, through diet, through nutrition, and different, Qigong exercises like we've talked about, we can really prevent disease. To live a healthier life. We're not going to stop death, that is for sure. And we all have, particular climates that we live in, and particular situations that we're exposed to that affect our health. But if we follow certain guidelines, we can really avoid some situations. that will lead to negative consequences. And even now with our pandemic, there are herbs that we would use to support the immune system and to counter the negative side effects of viral, the viruses. But Li Zizhen said that, he turned the whole doctor-patient paradigm upside down and started kind of a new trend in ancient China. Instead of taking payment for services rendered when they were sick, he asked patients, for a small payment to remain healthy. And I do this too. I'll trade with patients for eggs, or they'll make yogurt or kefir or things like that. For those who can't afford regular treatment. But this idea, he was an integral supporter of real healthcare. So, if they became ill, he would treat them without compensation, at his own expense with whatever herbs treatments were necessary. And that's a very different method of thinking about healthcare in terms of real prevention, and to see your doctor maybe not when you're sick, but to, as we were saying, at the change of the seasons and the rest, to balance the body's energies to prevent disease. So everyone has a different constitutional predisposition, and everyone is vulnerable in different ways. So we have to attend to the particular individual energetically. So we have to kind of train the patient, or we have to train ourselves to understand the nature of our constitution and to follow the directions of the doctor as far as diet, exercise, healthy lifestyle. So as Einstein said, aptly, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, which is generally what we do. You may go to the doctor, get your prescription, but don't change your lifestyle. Continue eating the same thing, continue doing the same behavior, insulting your body in every which way, not getting enough sleep, not hydrating, and not eating correctly. All these things create the circumstances for our immune system and our overall health. So the physician and the patient were partners in healthcare management. I don't think our healthcare system is going to change anytime soon, but it is a way to think about, think outside the box of our Western paradigm and take responsibility for your own health. So consequently, herbalists endeavors to treat the person as a whole and not just the symptoms. The symptoms are a reflection of the imbalance, but like a headache can come from any situation, whether it's a liver, kidney, a stomach, a spleen, you can have headaches. So you have to understand the underlying causes and conditions that create that. And the 5-element theory that we've been using as our baseline in the practice of herbal medicine is contingent upon proper diagnosis and of this constitutional predisposition that we have. So the herbs, the whole plants are used, the roots, the stems, the leaves, the bark, the fruit, the flower, etc., all have different energetic qualities and are all used to stimulate the body's own immune response to heal itself. Herbs are selected very carefully to match the patient as well as to treat illness. And you can use herbs in the same way we use drugs, as to treat the symptoms. So, if you have a headache, you use, there's herbs that we might use for that. If you have a pain, you use herbs. But the highest level is to treat the underlying cause of that. And there are herbal formulas that are selected very carefully to match the patient as well as to treat the illness. So Western allopathic medicine uses orthodox drugs, in a one-size-fits-all manner, usually a single compound, as we were saying, isolated from a plant source, or more commonly synthesized in the lab with the chemical guidelines of that plant structure. So an herbal medicine remedy can contain hundreds of different compounds working together synergistically to produce a desired result. without the negative side effects and possible addiction of conventional medicine, such as the opioid crisis that we are dealing with and we're facing. And it's unbelievable how many drugs most Americans take. More than 70% of Americans take at least one prescription, the drug. 50% take 2 or more prescriptions, and 20% take 5 or more prescriptions. So not to say Western medicine doesn't have its place, but it is, there are many side effects, and we just reach for a pill to help and not look at the lifestyle or the situation that created that problem to begin with. So the top categories of prescribed drugs in the US are antibiotics, antidepressants, and painkillers. Unfortunately, we see the painkiller aspect of the opioids that have been abused and have created so many deaths. And these numbers are going up. And increasingly, younger age group, the number of kids on mind antidepressants and other kinds of stimulants and a variety of other things they're getting younger and younger and starting those prescription drugs earlier and earlier. So we won't talk so much about the diagnosis and treatment about these things. We want to know more about the complementary systems. We're talking about in past sessions about the qi, the vital life force that we want to promote to help our immune system and our overall vitality, the yin yang aspects of these things, of these herbs. Some are cold enhancing, some are warming, and the 5 elements, qi, yin yang, 5 elements. We'll be talking a little bit more about those as we continue. But just as a reminder, you remember our discussion of qi, the vital life force that heals and protects us. It's our body that heals us. We're not like Valium deficient. It's important that we understand that our body has the capacity, if given the right materials, to heal itself. And we have to trust that and nourish that and work with that. So there are many kinds of qi. The 2 complementary qualities of qi are usually divided, we divide into yin and yang. And this is a different language than we're used to, and it can be somewhat confusing. But when we look at herbal formulas, that is taken into consideration. The herbal doctor conceives of wellness and disease and treatment differently from Western medicine. And there's even a different anatomy to it. We talk about meridians, and the organs are more than just a lump of cells that have a particular activity. They have a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual concomitant. So all living beings, including plants and animals, have a life force that is capable of bringing us to the highest stages of human achievement. And cultivating our qi is considered a way to maintain health and avoid illness, and to take us to we want to live long so we can practice Dharma and achieve our goal of liberation and ultimately Buddhahood. So when I say bringing us to the highest stages of human achievement, that's what I'm talking about. And so we cultivate our qi, to maintain good health, avoid illness, and live a long and happy, healthy life. So supporting this qi brings many benefits. And herbal medicine is part of our helpful armamentarium for health and happiness. And when we look at herbal formulas, we can't do too many herbal formulas, but there are herbal formulas that are divided into different aspects, which we will go over in just a moment. But these concepts of Chinese, of meridians or channels, the reservoirs of energy, are studied by practitioners of the healing arts for thousands of years. So as a reminder, I think we've mentioned there are 12 meridians that act like a storage system for qi. They are like rivers of qi that are associated with each of the 12 primary meridians. And these 12 organ meridians, they're associated with 12 different organs, and two extra meridians, conception vessel and governing vessel, like our seas of energy in which the 12 flow in and out of. They're like great oceans. They're the central channel, and in the front and along the spine in the back are like great oceans where the 12 rivers can draw energy when depleted and where excess energy returns. So this is a very dynamic, constantly changing energetic, and we can manage that energy through our behaviors and through our these 8 petals that we've been talking about, starting with meditation and qigong and diet and nutrition and our environment and et cetera, et cetera. So with the understanding of qi and yin yang, we come to the 5 elements, which we'll just briefly say our individual constitutional type are based on these 5 elements. And this dates back again, thousands of years. It always amuses me that people refer to this as New Age medicine, or, the first documented documents on Chinese medicine were written around 2800 BCE by Shen Nong, who was a crazy herbalist. He would try everything. I think he actually poisoned himself along the way, but many of his herbal formulas are still being used. And you can find these similar descriptions in other cultures, such as Indian, the Ayurvedic system, as we mentioned, Native American, Tibetan, Mayan. Traditional medicines have a long history and have been used very effectively, as 80% of the planet is doing right now. Essential oils and flower essences are also part of our herbal pharmacopoeia, a different aspect. The essential oils, again, extracted from flowers or different substances, and flower essences are used because everything has a qi, everything has a particular energy. So given this basic understanding, let's dig a little bit deeper into the herbal energetics. There are certain attributes or qualities attributed to herbs that affect the flow of qi in the meridians and the 12 organs of the body. And these 5 qualities the herbalist will consider in choosing an appropriate herb for an individual. So briefly, these 5 qualities are the 5 tastes: sweet, sour, bitter, spicy. There are qualities of taste, and the herbal action begins with the taste. It's the same with foods, and much of the herbs that you will see are also used in cooking, culinary herbs, but they have a very specific healing capacity as well. So there's the taste, there's the nature of the hot or cold aspect, the yin yang aspect. You don't want to give heating herbs to a hot person, nor a cooling herbs to a cold person. And different diseases can be classified as hot or cold pathogens, for example, and are treated similarly, or appropriately. So we have taste, we have nature, and we have function of the herb. And so some herbs are uplifting, some herbs are descending. So for constipation, for example, you want to move things down and out. For other things, we want to bring the energy up. So there's that action and where it's targeted. So particular organs or meridians that each of the herbs will target. And herbs in traditional Chinese medicine are always in combination. There's a formula. Rarely do we use individual herbs as in the European tradition. So if you need to relax, or sleep, you may just use valerian, which is a commonly used herb. It's also good for pain, but it has a quieting, calming, cooling quality. So this is valerian. And we also are aware of toxicity. Some herbs have a toxicity, and if they're used in combination with others, it neutralizes that toxicity, or it's only used for a short period of time, depending upon the need of the patient. So we'll briefly describe some of these 5 qualities when we talk about herb selection. But we'll start with the 5 tastes, because that is an important part of the 5 elements. As I say, food and the rest are all related to this, and so is color. But on your plate, when you eat, you should have all the different colors on your plate. The greens, the yellows, the reds, everything has, when we look at phytochemicals, for example, or phytonutrients, the colors are very important. They hold very strong and high content of phytonutrients. So the 5 tastes come from the 5-element relationship to each organ and its corresponding meridian. So the tastes are sour, bitter, sweet, spicy, salty. And if there's very little taste in terms of herbal medicine, we'll say bland. So the 5 taste category represents the way an herb tastes when you put it in your mouth. The herbal action of the herb begins with the first taste. When it hits the tongue, already there's a reaction, a response in the body. And this is the first marker of an herb's property. Sour, salty, bitter tastes are associated with yin, whereas spicy and sweet and bland are associated with yang. So just briefly, we will talk about each of those tastes. To begin with, sour taste is related to the wood element. This taste affects the liver and gallbladder. It'll astringe the gallbladder and create, the bile going into the intestine to help with digestion, particularly fats. And the liver is a very important organ. It's like a digestive enzyme factory. So the wood element is associated with the liver and gallbladder. The taste affects the liver and gallbladder, and the body reacts immediately to this taste by closing the pores and drying up the fluids in the mouth. That is why, you make that funny face when you taste a lemon wedge. You pucker, this involuntary puckering. That is a quality of that taste, and it affects the body in a variety of ways, just besides the puckering. It is that astringent quality that causes the reaction. And sour is cooling. It is astringent. It relieves heat, removes stagnation, dries damp, stimulates and improves digestion by enhancing bile flow, and secretion of digestive enzymes by enhancing liver and gallbladder function. Some herbs and spices in this category would be black tea, blackberry leaves, citrus peel, elderberry. We hear a lot about elderberry and its effect on our immune system. Green tea, hawthorn, lemon balm. Lemon balm is a wonderful herb, has a very nice relaxing, soothing effect. Milk thistle is the classic liver tonic. Red peony, rose hips, white peony. Schisandra is also a wonderful herb, primarily sour. Not all of these herbs have different tastes associated with them as well, but are predominantly sour. So those are aspects of the sour taste, and we would put herbs together if we were treating the wood element, liver, gallbladder, digestive functions, and imbalances that are related to the liver with these kinds of herbs. So that's the sour taste. A bitter taste is associated with the fire element and the heart and the small intestine. Bitter taste is slightly sharp. It's cooling and drying action. The body's first response to this flavor is to produce digestive fluids. And you may have heard of bitters. All over the world, people have been using for thousands of years around the globe to stimulate appetite and digestion bitters. And you may be familiar with that. It's very common in Europe. And we do have a recipe for digestive bitters. If you want, we can give you that along the way as well. You can make your own. And it's really fun to create your own herbal extract or tincture, syrups, different kinds of things. It is really life enhancing and kind of empowering, to take responsibility. So in our culture, bitter is probably our least favorite taste, but in Chinese cultures, bitter is used freely, like every other taste, and it's served really in every meal. However, we should try to include, all the tastes, as I mentioned, in our food preparation for balance and harmony in the kingdom of our body-mind. So we have receptors for these compounds in the mouth and the stomach, liver, gallbladder, intestines. And the bitter taste wakes up these receptors and acts as a catalyst to secrete digestive juices in the mouth. It starts there. That's where the digestive process again starts, with the production of saliva, which begins breaking down the food for digestion. And the next thing is the stomach secretes the needed hydrochloric acid and pepsin. The pancreas secretes enzymes, the liver secretes bile and other enzymes, and bitters help to enhance this whole process. So herbs and spices that would be in this category are burdock root, chamomile, chicory, coptis, dandelion root, echinacea. Echinacea is probably the most commonly used herb, for our immune system and for infections, the colds, flus. It's anti-pathogenic. Elderflower again, hops, marigold, nasturtium, pardiarco, rose, schisandra again, and valerian and yarrow. These are bitter. Yarrow tea, you may have heard of that. It helps with perspiration. So if you are having a cold and it's a cold wind invasion, we want to generate, a perspiration to push the pathogen out. Yarrow is very good for that. So the next flavor we'll talk about is the sweet taste. And sweet is, so if bitter is the one that we like the least, then we would say sweet is the one we like the most. And sweet is associated with the earth element, the spleen and the stomach. So it is used, it is for most of us, as we say, our favorite taste. And it is our comfort food that we often go to. And it really is our comfort food. Sweet is a kind of soft, it's pleasant, its flavor relaxes us and increases endorphins that feel good hormone energy. It's anti-stress and to a degree pain relieving as well. So the sweet taste helps build energy and helps modulate our immune response. It is slightly more yang, so sweet herbs warm us and energize us. It brings our energy up. And now, just as a point of clarification, we need to say that the sweet flavor we are referring to here is the natural sweet taste. It is not that of refined sugars that is causing terrible health problems for millions of people and is the source of lots of inflammation and obesity, and the carbs in general create an inflammatory response. So our addiction to sweets and its consequences will be addressed in the next section when we talk about the 5 elements and the earth element and the rise of diabetes and all of the problems that go with our addiction to sweets. And it is addictive. So slightly sweet foods and herbs again, herbs are foods, are more easily digested with the sweet taste, actually start the digestive process. So sweet tasting complex carbohydrates are the mainstay in many traditional diets, and also included in this category are dairy products. For those of you who eat dairy, but some people are very reactive to dairy. They do moisten the lungs and calm an overactive mind, a restless heart, an agitated liver. So some of the herbs and spices associated with this earth element, the sweet taste, are ashwagandha, astragalus, licorice, schisandra, spearmint, white atractylotus, Chinese dates or jujube, wolfberry, honeysuckle, reishi mushroom, Cotinopsis, and mulberry. So these are all herbs that we would find in a formula to enhance the earth element. And again, I will go into a little more detail on how these are put together in a moment. But the next is the spicy taste or pungent taste associated with the metal element, lungs and large intestine. And I mentioned that we're starting to come on to the fall, which is associated with the metal element. Excuse me. Need a little sip here. So you may actually begin experiencing a little craving for pungent, for spicy taste. So as we approach the season, the body in its wisdom may be attracted to certain spicy tastes. This flavor creates heat when it hits the tongue. So think of wasabi. For those of you who like Japanese food like I do, and that little green blob on your plate, the wasabi, Japanese horseradish, that little green mound next to your sushi is a very pungent herb. And herbs in this category are said to be very warming and awaken the senses and disperse stagnation. They can induce sweating and boost immunity. They stimulate digestion and improve circulation of qi and blood. So, you know, if you do have sinus congestion and you have a little of that wasabi, you know, your nose may start to run and the nose will open up. So the herbs and spices associated with this particular pungent, spicy taste are angelica, anise, basil, black pepper, chilies, you know, of all kinds, chives, cocklebur, cinnamon, cloves, garlic, ginger, horseradish, mustard seed, nutmeg. Pinellia is an herb that is particularly targets the lungs. Scallion, thyme, tulsi, and turmeric. Turmeric is such a wonderful herb. It has so many beneficial health aspects. It's one of my favorite herbs. It's something I take every day. It also has blood thinning effects, good for the circulation and the immune system. We could go on and on. If you Google turmeric, you will have pages and pages of research on turmeric. So that is the metal element and the pungent taste. And next is salty. And this is associated with the water element and the kidney and urinary bladder. Salt is a favorite taste in food preparation around the world. You know, we usually have salt and pepper on the table to you know, season our foods. And salt is one of those that has been traded. And if we look at the Silk Road and a variety of the trading, the things that have gone on, this trading, salt was a highly prized commodity. There's a wonderful film that some of you may know documenting the ancient traditions and day-to-day rituals of a Tibetan nomadic community. It's the movie's called the Salt Men of Tibet. Salt Men of Tibet. You may want to check that out. It's a great work of beauty. and shot under extreme conditions in the world's most remote area of Tibet by maker Ulrich Koch, Koch. So highly recommended. And we're talking about salt. You see, that little bottle of Himalayan salt that you have on the table. And I suggest that if you're going to use salt, that you use the Himalayan salt, for example, or the sea salt, and not the Morton's salt that has all kinds of desiccants in it and other kinds of anti-clumping and variety of other things besides salt in it. And the Himalayan pink salt is very nutritious as well, and has lots of electrolytes in it. But that Himalayan pink salt comes from the Himalayas. And so if you want to know where that comes from, you can check out that movie, Salt Men of Tibet. It gives you amazing insight into the world of the salt trade, for those of you who have that interest, and the life of those who struggle to produce it. So anyway, the salty taste we are talking about is not the same as table salt, as I mentioned. Rather, that salty taste is much milder because of the various other components found in herbs, but there is a salty taste in the herb itself, and salty has the physical effects of softening and lubricating the large intestine, and improving and consequently can improve constipation. Because it is associated with the kidneys, it also helps move fluids in the body. And to support kidney health, we must stay properly hydrated. As you know, I live in Florida, and it is a big problem when the heat index has our temperatures exceeding 100 degrees for weeks at a time. And we are still in that process, even though we're approaching the fall. So when you consider that coffee and tea and those kinds of things are dehydrating to a certain degree, and people are perspiring excessively and not consuming enough water throughout the day, dehydration is inevitable. And you may know there's a way that you can test your hydration. If it's called tenting. And if on the back of your hand, you just kind of pull up the skin, it should immediately go back. If it stays up and forms that little tent, you're dehydrated. So that's it should be soft. The skin should return to its natural condition without maintaining that tenting. So in order to support the kidney health, which is essential, we have to be hydrated. And if you're drinking, caffeinated drinks and those things which are going to push fluids out, you have to drink even more water. Rule of thumb is your weight in half, that many ounces a day. And I know that may sound like a lot, but it is, you'd be surprised how much water you go through in the course of a day. Just breathing, we lose fluids. You know how if your glasses are dirty, you might breathe on them, and it forms, that it's moist, so you can clean your glasses. But you're losing that moisture all the time with every breath. So under these circumstances, rule of thumb is maintain half your body weight in ounces a day. Your body is 60% water. So it doesn't take much to really upset the body's fluid balance. Herbs in this category are chickweed, nettles, oat straw, schisandra. You may see that I really love schisandra, and it really has all of the flavors in it. It's a wonderful herb. Violets, dried seaweeds. Seaweeds are very good, have a lot of electrolytes, are cooling and nourishing, and of course are salty. And some seaweeds you may consider are bladderwrack, dulse, kelp, kombu. There's lots of different seaweeds out there. So those are the tastes. Lama, did we want to break at any particular time?
Good question. Usually we do a break at the top of the first hour, and so this would be a good time for that. Additionally, we have a couple of questions if you have a moment, or should we get to the questions immediately after the break?
I'm going to go through one more piece, and then actually let's go ahead and do the questions.
Okay, very good. One of the questions is, are we going to receive the list of herbs for each taste?
We can. I don't have them listed, in right now, but we can have them for you.
One of the ways to do this would be if anyone from today's class is taking notes, if they wouldn't mind typing that little list up and sending it to Lama Losang. He can use it as a basis and correct and add and do whatever is necessary if we have any volunteers for that. Alternatively, Lama, you can put one together for us.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. If someone has the initiative to do that, it's good practice to hear it, write it, and contemplate it. So
always.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lama. The second question, it may yes. Okay. Second question. Actually, another one's appeared in Ohio. We get iodine, the essential nutrient, from iodized salt, which is not usually, iodine is not usually in sea salt or Himalayan salt. So what could we use for iodine, or is that a fallacy that we need iodized salt?
Iodine is very good for the thyroid, and it is important to have. But what makes the Himalayan salt pink is iodine.
Oh, okay.
So it's not you don't have to add anything to it. And foods naturally have iodine. A lot of the seaweeds will have iodine in it. So if we're eating the foods that we're talking about, you will get iodine without having to create more. But iodine is an important thing for the body, and particularly for the thyroid.
Okay, good. And then one other question, is stevia herb a good substitute for sugar, or allulose as well?
Yeah, we're going to go into that in much more detail when we talk about the earth element in next time. But stevia is fine. Yes, stevia is definitely a sweet herb. It actually has a little bitter aftertaste. But monk fruit, for example, is also sweet. And I like monk fruit as an additive. There's no carbs in that either. So the problem, when we're talking about herbs, is the natural sweetness without an additive. But if you're instead of using sugar in your tea or something like that, using stevia is much preferred. It actually has some other beneficial effects as well. So stevia is fine. Monk fruit you might try. There's a lot of other things that you can Google for sweeteners besides sugar.
Right. Okay. Okay, Lama, that's the questions for now. You say you have a little bit more to cover. So as they say in the business, carry on.
All right. So we've been looking at these tastes, and we're looking at many Western herbs as a Chinese herbalist would. But Chinese herbalism or Asian herbalism is very sophisticated, as I was mentioning. And I will go into a particular formula and show you how that is so sophisticated. But there are many parts to a plant. Parts can be combined or used separately to get the desired outcome. And it is a rare formula to use only one or two herbs in Asian herbal formulas. Also, in every herbal formula, each herb has a very specific role to play. So, for example, we can use at least 4 different categories for why an herb is placed in a formula. So the first one is the emperor. The emperor herb is the principal therapeutic herb. There is ministerial herbs. These are herbs that support and strengthen the emperor. There are messenger herbs that help herbs direct the energy to a target. to a specific meridian or organ of the body. And then there are helper or harmonizing herbs. These are auxiliary herbs that are used to adjust the formula or harmonize and reduce any potential side effects. So the emperor herb, which is the primary herb, and maybe one or two emperor, usually there's just one in a formula, that is the principal therapeutic herb or herbs. The minister herbs, those are supportive and strengthen the effects of the emperor. And the messenger herbs that direct the formula to a specific place, lung, stomach, spleen, liver. And the helper herbs that harmonize the formula and reduce any negative side effects. So for example, in a lot of the traditional Asian formulas, herbal formulas, you'll find licorice. Licorice has a harmonizing effect to the formula. So there are many popular standard herbal formulas made into pill form and are available to the general public. There's patent medicines. These are, there's many books on patent remedies. So this is always best to consult your acupuncturist or herbal practitioner with health concerns or questions that you would have. But unfortunately, most physicians are not trained in herbal medicine and consequently know very little about them. Okay, more on that to come. I think we've, that's all we need to do for right now, and then we'll come back and continue.
Okay, so this means that, so are we going to stop here for the break? Is that?
Yes, we can stop here for the break.
Okay, okay, everyone. The break is usually 7 minutes. So I'm going to set my little timer and we will be back in 7 minutes. I'm going to turn off my audio and video, and we'll be back in 7 minutes. Thank you, Lama.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're back from our break, and we have a question in the question chat. Can you please speak briefly about vinegar? I know it is not an herb and is derived from grapes. My body has always had a strong reaction to vinegar. That's the question.
What kind of vinegar are we talking about? I mean, if vinegar has lots of positive benefits, but we're talking about organic fermented apple juice, not so much from grape, but the organic. What I'll speak to is the benefits of organic fermented or double fermented. A raw, unfiltered, unpasteurized to keep the mother alive, and it has beneficial benefits for the digestive tract. But you'll see apple cider vinegar with the mother, and if you shake it up, it'll look a little cloudy with strings of beneficial enzymes, pectin, trace minerals intact. And when it's used, it can be used internally, externally, for household cleanings, a variety of things. Vinegar, the apple cider vinegar is really quite wonderful in a lot of different ways. I'm not sure what the strong reaction is, if it's good or bad or otherwise, but it is a digestive soother. Many of us are acidic, and you would usually think of vinegar as being acidic, but it actually helps to alkalize the body, which is good. We want the body to be slightly alkaline. It lowers blood sugar. So I'm not exactly sure of where the person is coming from who wants an answer to that. So, but it's beneficial if apple cider vinegar is used, organic, unfiltered, with the mother.
Okay.
It also enhances circulation. It has lots of benefits.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You can even use it as a weed exterminator for those of you who want to do that.
Well, the questioner has written thank you in the chat. And then someone is wondering out loud, could this be a histamine reaction? That's an interesting idea. Okay, Lama, that is what we have in questions right now. So please give us teachings on medicine and meditation.
So we were talking about those aspects of the emperor, the minister, the messenger, and the helper. And I will give you an example of that from a particular formula that is I've been using frequently these days. It is called Clear Heat. This is a product from Health Concerns. It's a modified, the name of the formula is Chuan Yin Lian Kang Yang Pian. I know that's a mouthful, but at any rate, you can look it up as Clear Heat on the, if you Google Health Concerns. But the therapeutic action for this particular formula, and I'm not suggesting anyone just go out and use this particular formula should not be used for any more than 2 weeks at a time, because it is a very powerful formula. So this formula is designed for people who have chronic toxic heat and inflammation, usually associated with viral, bacterial, or fungal infections. And it can also be used for pain. Anytime there's pain, there's inflammation. So inflammation is a heat sign, obviously. And this formula clears heat. It tonifies the kidney, but is directed particularly to the lungs. So, sorry. This Clear Heat formula contains 25% concentrated Isatis extract. Isatis is a particular herb. This is the chief herb, or the emperor herb of this formula, because of its strong clear heat, clear toxin nature. This can be used and has been used in China for viruses of all kinds, including COVID, particularly for the long haulers who have ongoing problems, residual problems from the toxic heat associated with that, particularly as it affects the lungs. So Chinese research has documented well the antiviral aspects of this clinical application of Astrasatis, or the Isatis formula. So the Chinese texts, as I say, document the treatment effects for hepatitis, herpes, herpes simplex, both herpes simplex and herpes zoster. Antiviral, warts are viral as well. So it is used for that. And so that is the chief herb. That is the emperor herb, the Isatis. Then there are the ministerial herbs that go along with that assist the emperor. And so there's 3 herbs: viola, prunella, and Oldenlandia, Lincera. Actually, there's 4, and Andrographis. These are all herbs in the clear heat toxin category. And you don't have to write these down. This is an example, of how these are put together. So there's the, we were mentioning the emperor and the ministerial herbs that assist. So this is a formula that I'm using as an example for this. A cordyceps is an herb that is one of my favorites for any lung condition. And so this, the cordyceps in this formula tonifies kidney essence and strengthens lung yin. So yin is cooling and yin is moistening. And when we have a situation, we have cough, we have a lung heat, and so we're dispersing the heat and the lung toxin, the virus. So cordyceps is used as the to direct the energy to the lung primarily. So that's the messenger herb. Emperor herbacetus, the ministerial herbs that we mentioned, the cordyceps being the messenger, taking it to the desired place, in this situation, the lungs. And cordyceps has numerous actions. As I say, it's one of my favorite herbs for staph, for strep, for mycobacterium, a number of pathogens it's effective for, but particularly targets lungs and kidney essence. The kidneys ground the energy of the lungs. So it's important to, when we're working with the lungs, to also enhance kidney function. And then we have licorice. And licorice also has antiviral, antibacterial effects, but it is the harmonizer of this particular formula. Reduces any negative side effects and really softens and stabilizes the formula. So that is an example of a formula, and you can see there are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 herbs in this formula. And that's how they are. And each of those herbs has a very specific function for a very particular need that a person might have. In this situation, it would be a lung heat condition, a toxic heat condition from a virus. So we're going to be looking at some other considerations when we look at different formulas. I'm going to switch gears a little bit to the Western herbs, or European herbs as they're called, because that's more probably what you'll be working with if you do that. The traditional Chinese medicine is somewhat sophisticated in how we put together these formulas, and often are, you know, we said this is like 9 herbs. Often they are multi herbs put together in the fashion that I said for a very particular reason. There's a couple of books that I'll recommend to you. Herbs for stress and anxiety. This is by Rosemary Gladstar. And one of the things that is most difficult right now, this is such a difficult time for so many. We've got fires blazing out west. We've got floods we've got pandemics, we've got financial disruption, we've got so many different things that are creating the stress. So this is a nice little book, Herbs for Stress and Anxiety by Rosemary Gladstar, and you can create your own herbal formulas that are in here. And the other one is Rosemary Gladstar's Medicinal Herbs. This is a little bit thicker book, a little bit more, but she's very simple. You know, she tells you how to grow them, what's needed, what is maybe the best way to start. So preparing your and using your own herbal remedies is a simple art that's quite easy to learn and fun to do. You know, I really recommend you get your hands in the dirt. There's a lot of benefits to that. Healing qualities just by growing the herbs, but taking them medicinally is also helpful, but there's something special about growing your herbs, watching them grow, taking care of them. And people have been doing this for a very long time, for centuries. And you'll find the simple instructions in those 2 books on how you can do that. But if making herbal remedies is not your cup of tea, so to speak, don't despair. You can easily find high quality herbal products in many natural food stores, herb shops, etc., and online. It's always good to use herbs, you know, that grow in your area in the season that they grow. So being in sync, there's a reason why herbs grow at a particular time, when they flower, when they seed when they fruit. So we use these very specifically during particular times of year, and eating the same way with our foods. Eating what's in season is a good idea, and what grows around you. So that is being in harmony with the natural environment, and that will keep you healthy. So with a little practice, you can learn how to tell, how your herbs are doing by their color, by their taste, by their scent, by their effect. So you use the same methods as you would, the same standards you'd use when you go shopping for vegetables and fruits. Even dried herbs should still have their fragrance. If you take a leaf and you crush it and smell it, it should have vitality to it and color, and retain its fragrance. But they may not necessarily smell good, but they will have a fragrance. Not all herbs are that good smelling, valerian being one of them. That smells like dirty socks, people say, and that's true. So sometimes it's not the fault of the herbal formula, not being effective. It is probably either because the herbs were of poor quality or the dosing wasn't correct for that individual. So determining dosage, guidelines for determining dosage is important. So deciding on the proper dosage of an herb for an individual is not an exact science. As individuals, we respond somewhat differently to herbs and treatments. Even in conventional allopathic medicine, drug dosage is far more arbitrary than we're led to believe. Herbalists are perhaps quicker to admit that determining dosage for each individual involves some skill and experience, and also some inner knowing and observation. In the West, it's a one size fits all. The pill, no matter if you're a 90-pound 70-year-old or a 250-pound athlete, you get the same dose of whatever the med is, and then they're adjusted accordingly. But this dosing situation is very important. You don't generally have to be too concerned about overdosing with most herbs. They are safe, natural, safe and non-toxic. Natural doesn't necessarily mean safe, but they are safe and non-toxic. But there are some toxic herbs, and there are some herbs that we need to know about that if you are taking prescription drugs, it's important to know the effects. So for example, ginkgo is commonly used, or other herbs that have blood thinning qualities. If you're taking a blood thinner and add more blood thinners to it, that can be a problem. So again, you have to be mindful, you have to be trained in a certain kind of way in using herbs. Particularly, it gets tricky when so many people are using prescription meds as well. So you may think that you've got high blood pressure and you're on high blood pressure meds, and then you take an herb that will you're on low blood pressure herbs, medicines, pharmaceuticals, and take additional blood pressure reducing herbs, it can drop out from under you. But you can transition in a lot of times from the prescription to the herbal formulas, and we've been able to do that successfully many times. So determining proper dosage, there are a few considerations we should probably consider and evaluate. Consider the herb. What is the primary action of that herb? Is it generally regarded as safe and non-toxic? Does it have any safety issues? And there should be contraindications for herbs. You have to do your due diligence. How is it traditionally used? And do your research for each herb before using it. And you have to consider the constitution of the person who is using the formula. Is this person relatively healthy? Are they strong, robust, or sensitive? Weak or debilitated? Are they recovering from an illness? Do they get sick often or occasionally? What is the constitutional aspect of the user. And of course, consider the illness that we're treating, the imbalance of the health issue, what symptoms are manifesting and what is the root underlying cause. And there's a difference between chronic conditions and acute conditions. So herbs are used very specifically sometimes for acute, for a short period of time in high dose, or in a chronic situation, more low dose over a longer period of time. So the duration of use is also a consideration. Many of the Chinese herbs are tonic herbs and can be taken safely over a long period of time. Some, like this herbal formula I just mentioned, the Isatis, is only taken for about 2 weeks because of its strong anti-inflammatory, heat-reducing anti-pathogenic effect. And then we'd have to use it in conjunction with another formula, or redirect the formula, or reconsider the formula. So taking these factors into account will help you determine a more accurate dose. But for the most part, it's safe. You start low and just see what your tolerance is for that herb. Listen to what your body's telling you. And it'd be nice if you could really communicate with the plant and make a connection with that plant. You'd be a plant whisperer. Plants do have an energy, and to be able to read that energy is really quite, it's getting you in touch with Mother Nature. There's called a law of signature, and sometimes plants look like the organ that it affects. So just in general, dosing, for chronic problems, long-term imbalances, chronic back pain, it can be PMS, it could be migraines, arthritis, allergies, things like that. They're usually developed slowly over a period of weeks or months, and generally require long-term commitment to correct the imbalance. Don't expect to take an herbal tea and all of your chronic problems will go away. It is a matter of these long-standing problems require time to correct. Acute problems come on suddenly, and the crisis quickly needs an immediate response. Examples are acute problems include, toothache, headaches, menstrual cramps at the moment, burns. Pain is often an acute symptom, though it can be caused by either an acute or a chronic problem. So we have to use our dosage either long-term or for a short period of time for acute conditions. So when we're preparing a tea, for example, the dosage for a chronic condition might be 3 to 4 cups of the tea for 5 days, rest for 2 days, then repeat, for several weeks or until the problem's corrected. And teas are the most common usage. We make an infusion, you put the teas in, you pour the hot water over it, you let it steep for a while and drink the tea. For an acute situation, a quarter or half cup throughout the day, up to 3 to 4 cups until the symptoms resolve. So you're going to be taking a different dosing. And there's, again, other ways that we take it besides a tea. There can be extracts and tinctures, and just a teaspoon can be taken, over a period of time, and capsules and tablets. So there's a variety of ways that we can take these formulas in different forms. Teas are very good to take. You can extract. Sometimes the extraction requires alcohol to extract the volatile oils or the other kinds of molecular, what we're looking for in the structure of that herb. Often just putting hot water over it will extract it, but sometimes alcohol is used, sometimes brandy or vodka, and it sits there. The herbs are strained and then used as a tincture. And if that's a problem with the alcohol, if people don't want to use, there's actually no alcohol left when you're done with this process. All the alcohol is evaporated out, and you've extracted the essential qualities of the herb. But you could use vinegar if you're in a program that you really don't want to take any kind of or be exposed to any kind of alcohol. You can use vinegar as an extracting agent. And there are, again, different methods for herbal teas. These days, tinctures and tablets, capsules are often preferred these days because they're easy to take. Though I prefer herbal teas as part of every health protocol. Water is user-friendly, and drinking herbal teas reminds us, this is an active part that we will do on a regular basis, and you're really tasting the herb. And we say it starts with taste. So if you're swallowing a pill, you're not having that the quality of the beginning of the herbal process by taste. Tinctures, drops from a tincture that can be made, you will get that taste.
Lama, there's a question. May I ask?
Yes, go ahead.
One of the questioners is asking about the very popular CBD derivative from cannabis or marijuana plants.
Yeah, marijuana is really a slang word. It should be called cannabis. That's its name. Yes, and the cannabis, we have a cannabinoid system in our body that's very effective for pain and for relaxation. And unfortunately, we've had this kind of campaign against the cannabis and marijuana. That situation has really poisoned the well. But it is it's in the pharmacopoeia of all the traditions. It's been used effectively. CBD is not active in terms of any hallucinogenic aspect. Usually it's from hemp, but you can actually get CBD from the cannabis as well, and it is very effective. But they're not all created equal. There's so many, like we were saying, you can get herbs in the gas station. You'll see CBD products in a variety of places, and I don't know, sometimes the manufacturers of that may be suspect. So know your manufacturer, but as far as it being in this category, yes, that is a CBD oil, and oils, as we were saying, are extracted from the plant and used very effectively. CBD is wonderful. It's really been beneficial for many people at physical, mental, emotional levels, topically as well as internally.
Thank you, Lama. That's the only question for now.
Okay. Yeah, as we were saying, there's lots of ways that we can use these herbs in capsule form, in powders, in salves, tinctures, and you probably have used, I'm sure you've all used herbs in one way or another. Let's put up, if you would, the slides that we have.
Yes, Lama. Yeah.
Let's take a look at those.
Okay, coming up.
Boy, time goes by so fast.
I tell you, it's true, isn't it? Okay, just a moment. Which one would you like to begin with, Lama?
Well, let's see the order that they're in, and we'll just.
Okay, yeah, understood. We'll start with this one. Okay, this is the digestive bitters recipe.
Oh yeah. Well, here's a a recipe. So we now have this as a part of the presentation. So I mentioned digestive bitters, and these are used all over the world to help with digestion and to stimulate digestive capacity and for gas indigestion, bloating, particularly when it has to do with liver and gallbladder. So you can see a peel of an orange, 2 tablespoons of dried dandelion root and leaves, a teaspoon of dried whole hibiscus flower, a 1/4 cup dried hawthorn berries, 2 teaspoons of grated ginger, 4 dried whole star anise, 6 cardamom pods. You can crush those and put them in like you would a garlic pod. And then it says a liter, 80 proof of brandy. And you may substitute, as I was saying, the raw, unfiltered, organic apple cider vinegar for the vodka or brandy if necessary. And local honey, you can have this as part of the formula, but this is only after they're removed from the jars. Go ahead and scroll down a little bit more. So as it says, so what else you would need to make this is a 32 ounce, you're putting all of this in a quart mason jar or bell jar with a lid. Good to have the bell jar with a plastic lid and not metal, because the metal may actually rust or get a little funky. So, and a glass serving bottle, which you're going to filter out all of the material, and with a sieve or and then just have the liquid remaining, and you put that in your other glass bottle. Once you take it out of the 32, you won't have actual 32 ounces of liquid there. And then add all the ingredients together as it says in the mason jar. Fill the jar to the brim with vodka or brandy. Cover it, shake it well. Put a label on the jar so you know what it is when you store it, and this will stay indefinitely. It can stay for years. Remember to shake it every day for 2 weeks and let it mature over a 2-week period, but shake it so that it maximizes the active ingredients. And try your first taste after 2 weeks, after you close the jar and it's been sitting and you've been shaking it. If it's the right amount of bitter for you, you can strain and pour the liquid into the smaller serving bottle. If you would prefer more bitterness, you can keep the original jar just as it is and continue shaking it every day and let it get a little stronger, and do that for another week. So we said you can try it for after 2 weeks, then every week thereafter. You can repeat this process, as it says, for up to 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, that would be a pretty strong formula, and or until you get the desired flavor. And you can add honey to it as you go to sweeten it and make it palatable. And you put that in the serving bottle as needed to boost. And honey has lots of benefits as well. Again, unfiltered, and if you can have it from an area around where you live, the honey can act as an agent for allergies and things like that as well. But it does boost energy and immunity. And this, as it says, this mixture will last indefinitely. And you can serve it with sparkling water. So just a tablespoon or 2 in a little water, and you can use sparkling mineral water if you like, the mineral water, the bubbly, if you like your bitter, and that's, I like that as well. So that is the description of that. I didn't know if we'd get to it, but we got to it, and let's go on to the next one.
Okay. Lama, one question before we leave this. You're saying that the serving size for this is 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons, and you can mix it with any amount of water. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, you can just take it straight too. I mean,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so if you just take a tablespoon or two, and have it be tasty, so you enjoy it. It just doesn't have to be nasty.
Okay. Hang on just a moment and we'll get that second one up for you. Okay, here we go. This is making and using herbal remedies.
Yes, so I was using this as I was discussing that. And so this will be available now, and you can review it at your leisure. You will have access to this teaching. Let's scroll down a little bit more and continue scrolling down. Yeah, so this is what I was just talking about. And this comes from the book of Rosemary's. So I want to give her credit for that. This is not mine. This is Rosemary's. And she is a very good herbalist and puts it very succinctly. It talks about these different, this is an interesting one here as we come up to the solar or lunar infusions. You can put it out in the sun, like the sun tea. You've heard of that. You can do the same thing with herbs. And there's lunar infusions as well. We're coming up on a full moon. And if you have a clear sky and a full moon, that is a lunar tea. You can place, as it says there, 1 or 2 ounces of herb in a quart of water in a large glass or bowl and place it directly in the path of the moonlight. It's not necessary to place the lid on the container, though if there's little bugs and insects, not so good. You can put a little cloth or something over it and leave it overnight. Then strain the drink and you can use it. That would be more yin enhancing. The moon is yin, the sun is yang, but depending upon the formula, yes. It gets us in touch with nature a little bit too, doesn't it? So more about tinctures, that's great. So this gives you more idea of how to make a tincture. Okay, we can continue. And there's a recommended reading list there for you too. I'm glad we have this as part of our class here. So you have a reference, those books by Rosemary there, Gladstar, are the ones that I recommended to you, but there are other books that you may find interesting as well. Okay, let's continue.
That appears to be the end of the
okay. Very good.
Handout.
Very good. So did anyone put the herbs? I can read those herbs again for each of the tastes if you like, and you can copy them down, or what do you think would be the best way to do that?
That's a good question. Would anyone like to volunteer to put together the initial list for Lama?
I can read them again. I went through them pretty fast. So
yeah, okay.
It may be difficult to remember all of them. You may not have been able to write as fast as I was saying them.
I hear that.
Let's see if I can find them. Yes. But try the bitters formula. It will be an experiment for you on how to make the formula. Okay, sour associated with the wood element. We would say that black tea. So make a note of it if you're interested in saving this. Black tea, blackberry leaves, citrus peel, elderberry, green tea, hawthorn, lemon balm, milk thistle, red peony, rose hips, white peony, schisandra. You know, in Chinese medicine, they use, it's considered herbal medicine, but they use all kinds of other things, shells and minerals and body parts and organs and a variety of other things. You may go into a Chinese medicine store and see a gecko, a dried gecko on the wall. I hate to say it, but it is like that. And and horn and different. Now they're not using it, but historically they use bear gallbladders and a variety of things. But this is totally herbal, what we're talking about now. So that's the sour taste, the bitter taste. Is where.
Thank you. Just to mention, thank you, Tanya. She is typing these things for us and has put them in chat.
Oh, excellent.
And we'll send this over to you, Lama.
Excellent. So the sweet foods, sweet taste, ashwagandha, astragalus, licorice, schisandra, spearmint, white Atracta lotus, Chinese dates, juju. It's also called jujube, Jugube, wolfberry, honeysuckle, reishi mushroom, codonopsis, and mulberry. The spicy taste, pungent, angelica, anise, basil, black pepper, chilies, chives, cucumber, cinnamon, cloves, garlic, ginger, horseradish, mustard seed, nutmeg, penelia, scallion, thyme, tulsi, turmeric. And the water element, salty taste, chickweed, nettles, oat straw, schisandra, violets, dried seaweeds of all kinds. I mentioned bladderwrack, dulse, kelp, kombu. So those are those. We could, again, this is a class that could go on and on and on. Herbal medicine is a huge study of itself. This is a very superficial overview, but it gives you an idea when we're looking at herbal formulas, particular Western versus Asian formulas, how they are constructed, how they're used, at least to some degree.
Mm-hmm. Lama, there's one question that arose in the chat, and that is, did you skip or did you include the bitter taste?
I think so. I think we did bitter taste.
I was trying to listen for them all and I did not catch.
Well, bitter taste, let's just, burdock root, chamomile, chicory, coptis, dandelion root, echinacea, elderflower, hops, marigold, nasturtium, pau d'arco, rose, schisandra, valerian, and yarrow.
Okay, thank you, Lama.
And that pretty much takes us to the end here. You know, we were talking a little bit about the Hippocratic Oath. And there's an interesting thing that Sun Xiao Miao, who was a famous Tang Dynasty physician, scholar, and author. He lived in 581 to 682 AD. And this was his idea of the ancient Chinese medical oath. When you go to treat an illness, you first must calm your mind and make steadfast your intentions. To treat people with a serious disease who ask for help, you cannot concern yourself with whether they are esteemed or dishonorable, wealthy or poor, elderly or young, beautiful or ugly. Your care must be safe and not swayed by whether they are your dearest family member or your adversary, your good friend or a stranger, Chinese or a foreigner, foolish or wise. In your mind's eye, each patient is on the same level, degree, and class, and is treated as close family. Your care must never be self-serving or motivated by what brings good or bad fortune, or by which is pleasing or upsetting. Your protection and care should be precisely what is necessary, no more, no less, without deference to your own safety and life. Know in your heart that your good deeds are sincere and not a game. Show courage, but caution. Actively explore and broaden your knowledge, but stand firmly on the principles of which you are certain. So I think that's the saying of a bodhisattva. So with that, I think we will conclude.
Okay, Lama, want to thank you so much on behalf of Columbus Karma Takes Some Choling. These classes have raised well over $1,000 for the Columbus KTC Rebuilding Fund, and we're incredibly grateful to you for giving us this this Dharma of healing. So thanks very much for this. And would you lead us in a dedication prayer, Lama?
Yes, we dedicate this merit for all beings and their ultimate enlightenment, but especially for the peoples of this time on this earth, all the nations of the earth. May disease, famine, violence, end, and suffering be pacified, and may pure conduct, merit, wealth, peace, and prosperity increase, and may good fortune and well-being, health and vitality always arise in the minds of all beings. May all of our wishes be accomplished in the most auspicious way. We dedicate this merit. Thank you. I think you're muted, Lama.
Yes, I actually am. Yes. Thank you so much, Lama. Thank you. And we look forward to seeing you in November. I believe, if I can look at my calendar really quickly here, it looks like our next event will be in November. I'm thinking it is November 13th. It's either it's one of the three. Did we pick the 6th, the 13th, or the 20th? I think we picked the 20th because it was the week before Thanksgiving. Is that what we picked?
I don't have it. I've got another calendar.
All right. No worries. No worries. We'll
straighten that out. Yes.
Yeah, we'll straighten that out and make sure everybody has it. So thanks again, everyone. And Lama, wishing you long life, good health, and continuing expanding Dharma.
Same
okay, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.